All right, shall we dance?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, liking, sharing, telling all of your friends, because this is the Wheelhouse podcast, and it's just worth chatting about, because I reckon it's an okay show. My name's Joel Spreadborough. You reckon it's all right show, Kate Bates, former Olympian?
Yeah, I reckon we go all right.
Go okay?
Yeah.
I noticed you're not wearing your Wheelhouse shirt.
I'm not. It is the bunker I think we've revealed already is in Brisbane. 37 degrees Celsius,
Yes.
Joel. So, look, you are brave wearing a T-shirt. I have gone for a frock.
If anyone tells you that watermelon keeps out the heat, they're fibbing. Just quickly, what's the hottest conditions you ever rode a bike in a professional race?
Whoa, I would have to say the Women's Tour of Qatar.
Oh, okay.
Not pleasant.
I'm guessing they didn't have air-conditioned velodromes like they do for the FIFA World Cup.
No, it was on the road.
Oh, okay.
It was on the road. And I was known, probably still am, for being a little bit sweaty. So very classy and glamorous, isn't it, Joel? Yeah. I did not like the heat.
Well, I have been called Joel Sweatborough in the past, and I've lived up to that nickname. I'm excited to be here in the bunker. There's a big show ahead. I have to say, the off-season continues, but the action never stops. So we've got some big names locked in, rolled gold. They're coming. They're happening. They're going to be at the Tour Down Under. We're going to talk about that, as well as another couple of special guests that might be in and about the crowd down there. A shiny trophy. I love shiny things. There's a shiny trophy that's coming back to Australia after the Champions League wrapped up. That's exciting. I'm really interested to talk more about sponsor chaos, the withdrawals that we're seeing. It's such a big issue. It's been happening for a while. It's reached boiling point. I know we keep on this hot theme, but that's an appropriate expression because it has reached boiling point. Your baby, esports, one of your babies, has a new format. We're going to explore that a little bit as well. And while we're at it, a big announcement for the Wheelhouse podcast coming up as well.
It's a big week, and when you said you like shiny things, I couldn't help but think of the crab on Maui in the movie Moana. We're not talking about that, just to clarify.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's the crab that's voiced by Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. Yes. Excellent crab. Very, very glittery and shiny. Now, let's start with one of our favourites, a confessed fan of the Wheelhouse, Remco Evenepoel. So he's done some thinking. He's gone away. He's crunched some numbers. He's had to think about what he wants to do in 23. Giro seems to be the way forward, Kate. Why is this?
Yes, he's taking his fancy rainbow jersey to Italy for a little jaunt, if you will.
A jaunt.
A jaunt,
Okay.
a 21-day, 23 if you count the rest days, jaunt around Italy for the Giro d'Italia. He has got his highlighter over that. He chose to do that because of the number of time trial kilometres in the race. Mm-hmm. He's actually gone now and reconned all of that. So he's taken a look and he's come out and said, I reckon it's even better for me than I thought.
Oh, that's exciting.
So it is exciting.
How exciting is that? I wonder if we can get him to do a shout out just from...
Well, he's a listener. He literally said he's a listener. But further to that, because everybody's been crying foul, Remco, you're the world champion. We want you at the Tour de France.
Yes.
He will not be there in 2023. But Patrick Lefevre, our favourite villain, the manager of Deconic Quick-Step.
The Darth Vader of the cycling world. Yeah.
Indeed. He has kind of teased that with the announcement of the 2024 Tour de France finishing with a time trial down in Nice, that may be the one that he's targeting.
Oh, wow.
His debut. But so in 1989, Greg LeMond won the Tour de France in a final stage time trial.
Yes.
He went in 15 seconds adrift from Laurent Fignon.
Mm-hmm.
He beat him by 58 seconds. In that, we talked about that.
He was one of my nominees
comeback.
in the comebacks. Yeah.
Yes. And that was like this beautiful moment in cycling history.
Yeah.
I reckon Remco's got his eye on the final stage time trial, a little bit of a glint in his eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that his story doesn't precisely mirror Greg LeMond's.
Please
because
don't go
a bit
hunting
of buckshot
Remco.
and,
but I did ask him actually at the presser post-World Championships. I did actually ask him how he felt being compared to people like Greg LeMond. Yeah. And he said that was a pretty big comparison and he was just kind of paddling his own canoe at this point. But maybe we put a seed in his mind, Joe.
Yeah. Well, look, that's the kind of territory you're in when you're winning tours and winning world championships. Sorry, mate. That's just how it is.
Indeed. Well, Le Monde was the youngest world champion to do that before Remco in the elites. So
Wow.
I'm seeing a bit of symmetry.
The historical symmetry is overwhelming.
And the time trials, they're only finishing outside of Paris because Paris Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a bit sad. I'm a bit sad about that. A bit sad about Tour Remco. But anyway, that's okay.
Yep. Look, hang in there another year, Joel.
He's got one in him. I just know
He
that he's
does.
got an overall in him. Maybe it's it's not going to be next year, but it will happen.
Well, it might be the third because he's won the Vuelta. Next year he might win the Giro, and then he might go the Tour the next year.
I should have
Taking his time.
qualified that. An overall Tour de France win
Yes.
is what I meant. Yes, absolutely.
Understood, Joel.
Thank you. Important to clarify on the Wheelhouse podcast. Coming to you
Yes.
live from the bunker. Kate Bates has spoiled the secret. It's in Brisbane where it's 400 degrees Celsius at the moment. Now, let's stay on Grand Tour winners for just a moment because UAE, no strangers to the top of the podium. They've made a big announcement, a new technical supplier for 2023. Tell me about Pissay.
Now, I'm excited about this one, Joel. Firstly, the first ever World Championships I rode for Australia on the road, Pissay was our clothing sponsor.
Wow.
So it's just kind of a nice little join there for me. It's an Italian clothing company, but it is owned in Australia and distributed by our wonderful friends at Champion Systems.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. So in-house, I'd call them family by now.
Yeah.
Now we have a direct link, Joel, to the Tour de France, team to beat.
Oh, that's
It's pretty exciting.
so good.
And interesting that they've been announced as a technical partner, not a clothing partner.
Yeah.
But it's because so much technology now is going into these garments. The priorities are making them really aerodynamic. So in the good old days, you used to see them with their zips undone, the gold chains hanging. Was never my favourite thing to see. But, and the jersey flapping around, you won't see Pogacar doing that.
No.
No. The aero is a real thing. And the other really big thing, and we talked about climate change on another episode, is about everything being warm. And so a really big focus for them is working with Pogacar and the team on the thermal properties of the clothing heading into the Tour.
Okay.
So really interesting stuff. I mean, it's just fascinating how much research and development goes into clothing.
Yeah.
But here's a fun fact for you. How many kits do you reckon they get? Each rider. So a kit being jersey, Nick's socks, like
Baker's dozen.
Baker's
Absolute
13.
guess.
20.
20?
20.
20 kits?
Then on top of that, they get all the other accessories. We'll have to get a list because I reckon I could challenge you with the name of some of them. You'd be like, what do you do with that?
I still am wrapping my head around many elements of a kit, so yeah, for sure.
Over 100 pieces they get.
That doesn't sound complicated at all.
It's just incredible. So at the end of the season, look, they do so many kilometres in them and it's not like they're having days off. So
yeah.
there's 365 days worth of solid wear for these kits. But that's a lot?
That's a lot of kits. But
It's
when
a
you do
lot.
break it down to the amount of kilometres they're doing, slogging it out in the heat, that kind of thing, I guess,
Well, but it means that they need to do washing at least once at a Grand Tour.
That's where it becomes tricky. That's where it becomes tricky. It's like, just pause.
Oh,
Where's the
no.
laundromat?
Hold on, actually, on top of the kits, they then get like race suits, like speed suits,
Okay.
time trial suits.
Do they have to do their own
So
laundry?
actually,
I'm
they
really
wouldn't.
curious about
No,
that.
they
okay.
have a soigneur, the same person
Yeah.
that does the bottles and all that jazz. They do the laundry.
So I'd love that. It's like, today, okay, Swanya, you're going to be on water bottles, you're going to be on dirty nicks.
Well,
Talking
they
about
put
short
them all.
straws.
No, they put them all in like a washing bag,
Yeah.
like a netted washing bag,
Okay.
because it would be like that. They'd need danger pay if they were having to
Just
go
a
and
little bit,
collect
yeah.
like the dirty nicks of riders. I think that's our cue to move on.
Maybe.
I don't know where that conversation can
we
go.
dive deep into kits. Now, there's an expression, Kate, that I'm a fan of, which is put a pin in it. I say it all the time. But as far as the UCI is concerned, putting a pin in it is going to be a thing of the past pretty soon when it comes to bibs. Tell me about this. I'm fascinated to know the evolution of the bib.
Yes. Well, so the UCI's just had a seminar, and each year, they come out with some interesting things. And Joel, I think it's fair to say we haven't given them a lot of credit over the years. So, when we do, You almost need like a bell ringing or something monumental like that. But what they've... Oh, Darth Vader.
I could give him a quick Vader breath, maybe.
You could. Well, let's see if this
It's
works.
not working.
Nah,
So,
it's not
sorry, UCI.
It's what they've done is they've decided that it's ridiculous in this day and age to be using and sustainability based
Pin on bibs. Yep.
to put numbers on.
It's like it's not a bloody primary school athletics carnival, guys.
But even the number, then you have to print all of the numbers, and every time you lose a number and you lose a lot, or you wash the garment with the number on and it needs replacing, like it's not very environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
So finally they've caught up with modern times, and they're talking about having each rider in the World Tour has a permanent number.
Oh, okay.
And then, well, for the year, and then it goes on the back of their jersey. So bit of a mock-up I've done. It's on the screen in the studio. We'll definitely have to pop this one up on socials for a few opinions. But essentially, a giant number on the back, their name. Joel, I love this. Do you know why I love it? As a commentator, this is just...
Make your life a little bit easier.
So this is fantastic.
From a merchandising point of view too, it's a good move.
It is a very good move.
The mock-up looks,
Yeah.
it's got a bit of football about it. It's got a bit of cricket about it. They're identifiable. I like the idea of permanent numbers. I think that is a really, really smart... I don't know. Let's say, for example, Pog is 14 or something. That becomes such a marketable thing.
I'm very curious about how they're going to do that, though. Do they do it by season? Do they do it by team? There's 30 riders signed to each team. Or is it that each team has, 1 to 30?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's, number one in that. I don't know. We'll see how that folds out.
Maybe they need to introduce a decimal point system, because otherwise we're going to start having numbers that are in the thousands. So it's like Pog is 14, Jay Vine is 14.1.
Yes.
That's a thought.
Well, give him time. That might reverse.
That's a free idea just for you, UCI. That's us saying that we love you and we're sorry that we knock you so often, but you can have that. That's a gift. Okay. I like it. Now, we were talking a lot about the carbon imprint of team cars and the convoys that follow around, but we've got a slightly different spin to chat about right now, and it is the aerodynamics. Now, I've chatted about this with you before because I've always been fascinated about it. I remember when Richie Port was riding in the Tour and used it beautifully and got a lovely little push along a little while ago, at the same time abusing a guy for being in his face.
Sticky bottle, anyway. I believe we'd call it, where it's hanging onto that.
So they're clamping down on it? Is that what's happening?
So they've tried to clamp down on the sticky bidden situation for a long time. But at this seminar, because each seminar they have, we get something fun out of it, they've decided that they need to clamp down on team cars behind time trial riders sitting too close, and they're doing so in order to create an aerodynamic advantage.
Yes.
So what we started seeing popping up is team cars, instead of having one of the riders' spare bikes on it, they had 10 bikes on the top of the car, so that they could create this fantastic aerodynamic, essentially push for the rider, and driving as close as reasonably practical.
Well, it was 10 metres. Was 10 metres the limit, or was there a limit?
Well, no, there wasn't. So now I think before it was vague language, reasonable, something like that. Now they're saying can't be within 10 to 15. They're ratifying that.
Oh, they can't be within that.
So they can't be within that.
Okay.
I think I have really mixed emotions on this one, because I think from a sport, firstly, I'm not being very clear here, am I? I think it's a great rule. But the reason that I think it's a great rule is because that's just out and out cheating. But there's a lot of people who are like, but it was within the rules, and so you should take every advantage within the rules until it's outside of the rules. But I don't think it's very sporting. Okay. Like, they're doing it to create an advantage that isn't rider driven. Like it's coming from an external source.
It's a push along.
It's a push along. I don't like it. I'm glad that the UCI, for once, I'm glad with a new rule.
Oh, it's good to hear.
Normally they're rubbish,
we're
but
bound
on
to
this
get there
occasion
eventually.
I like it.
No, I like it too, and I do tend to agree within a lot of sports that you do what you can within the rules, and that little edge and that little advantage can be found. But I do agree, like that's a bit of a glaring one, and when they say a reasonable distance, it's ridiculously vague. Oh. It's like, what do you mean? Is reasonable like going within millimetres and giving them a little tappy?
But also think about rider safety, because if the athlete decked it going 60k an hour, it would be pretty hard for a car to avoid that if they're, 3 metres off the butt of the rider.
Oh,
can you imagine?
Gee, that got grim, but
right?
yeah, absolutely.
But it's true. I mean,
yeah.
we haven't necessarily seen it happen, but I think that is the job to a degree of the
risk.
UCI is to look at genuine risks and say, well, God, there's no reason. There is zero reason for a car to be closer than 15 metres.
Okay. So there's a sporting advantage element, there's a safety element, which makes a lot of sense.
they're not yelling out of the car.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, I've been watching a lot of the football in Qatar. It's been a fascinating tournament. Go the Socceroos. They went really well. They're not done, Qatar.
I thought you meant the Socceroos. I'm like, mate, they've already gotten on the plane and come home. But
Socceroos are done.
Yes.
For now. For now. Anyway, Qatar's got a bit of an appetite for big events. They're bidding for 2036 Olympics. But I love this about the Summer Olympics. Let's have the Summer Olympics in autumn because no amount of air-conditioned stadiums are going to get you out of the hole. That some of those sports just have to happen outdoors, and they want to do them in autumn. I'm fascinated by that.
Well, it's kind of autumn-winter, to be honest, because at the moment it's now just ticked into summer in Australia, which means it's ticked into winter in Qatar. I don't know about it. I mean, we had a tour of Qatar for a long time.
Yep.
It was an interesting race and it had its pluses and minuses. But I can't say that anybody really knew what we were doing there.
Yeah.
It was a bit odd. And I don't know about, changing the whole schedule just based on the climate. Oh, look, I'm actually, I'm talking about the climate here, but my issue is actually what happened with the World Cup around the human rights and
absolutely.
around worker exploitation and, even the LGBTQI kind of stuff. I just don't think that matches with the Olympic movement.
They moved, obviously, the World Cup time frame. They moved it, but there may or may not have been a rough $2 billion handshake.
Yeah, I mean, so people are talking a lot
right.
about, and that's what's been in the news. They're talking about the time frame, but for me, that's the small part of the story.
Not their first bid either, 2016, 2020, 2024, and they haven't even been shortlisted. I got to say, wouldn't there be a couple of eyebrows? Wouldn't there be just a couple of subtle, oh, really? If
all of a sudden.
All of it, neck minute.
Yeah,
let's
neck
just
minute.
say. I'd be interested. I'd be very interested. On the Wheelhouse podcast, one to watch, Olympic bids, left, right and centre. Tell you what they're not having, Brizzy 2032. That's ours.
That's ours.
Now, tell me, okay, I almost need to have a glass of water and a lie down before we get into this next one because there are debacles and then there's B&B hotels. Okay? So, I'm sad about it.
Joel, if I may,
wow.
I think that I have to humbly, on behalf of yourself, myself, Merksy and the Wheelhouse, apologise to Mark Cavendish.
I never thought I'd hear that.
I know. So we've been getting a little bit sick of Mark Cavendish not announcing what team he's going to. It's become quite clear this week. He had signed for B&B Hotels KTM for 2023. Ugh. They've now folded. Now, there's been a bit of conjecture around all of this. I mean, remember they cancelled a press conference?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we were like, ooh, you know what's going on
Juicy.
here?
Yeah,
and it annoyed us.
Yeah.
We were like, come on now, stop it.
Fuming.
It turns out that they have mishandled sponsor management and they don't have a sponsor. It's devastating.
So they're not existing in any capacity.
No,
there's nothing happening. Okay.
We're not when Team Quebec lost a sponsor, they went back to continental level. They didn't have the budget to do World Tour, but they stepped back. We're talking about them not existing in any capacity.
Wow.
Not continental, not pro-continental, nothing. It's massive because they've got a massive roster. And at the moment, they've left now 20 men and 12 women. As Chloe Hosking put it in a tweet, because she is one of the athletes that has been impacted, the Aussie sprinter, up shit creek without a paddle.
One of the most beautiful Australian expressions.
It is.
And for those overseas listeners, I don't even know if I need to explain what up shit creek without a paddle means.
I think they can get the idea.
It's there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So in the women's side, we've got Chloe Hosking, Audrey Cordon-Ragot. We've also got the Olympic champion Anna Kiesenhofer.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
Well, they are up shit creek.
They are because the other squads, the other teams are full now.
No more gaps.
So it's not even like the other teams are like, oh, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
There is no choice. On the men's side, Mark Cavendish is the biggest name at the moment, but Aussie Nick Schultz.
Yeah.
We've spoke about how well he's ridden this tour. In the early days of the Wheelhouse podcast, we were quite a big fan of Schultz. He nearly won a
Brizzy
stage.
He's a Brizzy boy.
Nearly won a stage of the tour. Like, we were loving him.
Yeah.
And he's in trouble now too. And it's just such a bummer. It raises some big questions for me, Joel. How do they get into this much strife? It's December. Like, it would be devastating for the team manager. Jerome Pinot. It's not that he doesn't care and hasn't been trying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. When you sign a big contract with a team, should you be privy to contracts that they've signed with sponsors to know?
I'm interested. It's a good point, isn't it? I'm interested about all these other teams having locked things in and all of that, because contracts in sport, we all know that they can be a little bit fickle. So what does this do to dynamics if some team decides, oh, wait a minute, actually, wouldn't mind going after XYZ who's now... Are they allowed to do that?
They are. So they've been released, and so any of the riders, Cav is free to go anywhere.
Because that could get really ugly. That could get really ugly for other teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult situation. So about 12 of the Pro Tour teams, the World Tour teams, are already at capacity with their 30 riders. So they have no option. They can't kick a rider out and bring a rider on. They're done.
Yep, okay.
And that only leaves a very few which won't have a lot of budget, and there'll be some hard decisions for the athletes.
Yeah,
and it's a real shocker. It happens all the time. I know it's really tough economic conditions at the moment. But the sticking point for me, before we move on to, greener grass and happier news, is that...
Before we row out of shit creek.
Yes. Because we do have a paddle in here at the Wheelhouse, is that they were a men's team. He didn't just lose funding for the men's team. He decided they were also going to have a women's team. So they didn't have an existing one. So there were 12 women who signed with B&B, including our Olympic champion, including Aussie sprint darling, Commonwealth champion Chloe Hosking, when they're out of nowhere. So he didn't just mistime his budget by one team.
This.
It's like he went so big.
Yeah.
If you were going to expand, pretty much double your budget, wouldn't you signed, sealed and delivered before you then went and contracted riders?
You'd certainly think so, because there's instances in sport. I'll use Chelsea Football Club as a great example. So this year, obviously, the war broke out, Russia-Ukraine. Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, was sanctioned, lost all of his assets. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Chelsea was in a precarious position. The day before that happened, they weren't. They were in a great position. They'd signed, planned, women's team, men's team, all of that. This instance, and we've seen it happen before, Team Quebecer as well, but in this instance, it's like, how did you not know? How, are you looking at your books?
It would be bad enough if it was the men's, but for him to go and create a whole women's team, sign the staff and the riders...
Yeah. It's big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shocker. So let's hope that everybody finds their home. And certainly I reached out to Chloe. She hasn't replied yet. I'll let you know when she does. But, we wish her all the best.
Oh, absolutely.
And Schultzy.
I love Schultzy. Absolutely. And hopefully they can all find homes.
Yep. They're both classy riders.
Yeah. And it's terrible. And I think riders... To have the rug pulled out from under your feet like this just quickly, it's like you need to have some sort of transparency on that process as well, and know what the books are looking like. And it's again an eternal debate across sports and managers handling contracts and players just going out there and doing their thing and not paying any attention to that stuff. But sometimes you kind of have to. You kind of have to know that there's a foundation that you are, that you're
how about
to.
if you don't have confirmed money, you don't sign a whole new team? I mean, that's a starting point. As a standard.
As just a little cheeky, if you don't mind.
Putting it out there.
You've got a lot of mates. One of them is...
I like to say I do anyway, Joel. It works in here.
One of them's Jai Hindley. Let's talk about the tour down under.
Yes. So, to be clear, I haven't actually met Jai.
Stop
However...
it, Kate. You're bringing down the fourth wall.
However... I'm going to bounce up to him at the Tour Down Under like we've been besties forever, and it'll be so awkward that he will just go along with it. That's my plan.
I love how you've brought a very honest take to the Wheelhouse episode. This week, so we're in Brisbane. That's out there now. Haven't actually met Jai Hindley. I'm sitting here sweating, going, stop it.
All right, I'll stop. You're not sweating because of me. You're sweating because it's 37 degrees. But I think I also let le cat out of le bag with that as well, because He's coming to the Tour Down
I
Under.
love that. First Aussie to win the Giro. Did it in spectacular fashion. One of only 2 to do so. He's 26. He's got a bit of Cadell about him. There, I said it. I went there. I said it.
Mm-hmm.
Headline act. You know what? 18 months ago wouldn't have been a headline act. Now, absolutely is. Huge get.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
He'll be out riding around doing laps in 4 million degree heat, just like those other riders that acclimatised in Australia. What do you give him a chance?
Headline act like Jimmy Barnes at a football final. I mean, this is a big one.
Meatloaf. Yeah.
Well, come on now. Better than Meatloaf, maybe. Massive news.
Yeah.
But when we had Jay Vine in the bunker, he pointed very clearly to stage 3 where they go up Checkers Hill and the Corkscrew at the Tour Down Under. Jay Vine's a climber. Jai's a climber. Yeah. Like, there are some climbers targeting this race. It is going to be on for young and old.
It's going to be epic.
It is going to be epic. I just want to know, is Glutes O'Connor coming?
I was about
talking about Aussie climbers.
I was about to ask you if you had any intel on Glutes.
No, not yet. But I will hound him until I get an answer.
Just ping him.
Or until I see a press release. Whichever comes first.
Okay. But it's not exactly the Pyrenees, obviously. Australia's not known for its elevation, but it's still tough climbs.
No, and that's the thing. They're not, like when we talk about climbers in Australia, they're not 20K epics. They're not, the Tourmalet or Mont Ventoux or something like that. Yep. But in January, when it will be very hot traditionally at the Tour Down Under, it offers Aussies a bit more of an opportunity simply because of the heat and the conditions. At the time of year, a lot of them have also done the national championships. But these are the kind of climbs that they grew up on and got talent ID'd on before they went to Europe and rode the Pyrenees. Wow. So I'm excited.
Oh, it's massive.
It is.
It's massive, massive, massive. And another special announcement coming your way on that. I really want to let the cat out of the bag, but maybe I should wait. Should I?
Do it.
You know who else is going to be there?
Who?
The Wheelhouse podcast.
Yes, the Wheelhouse.
I shan't be riding the Corkscrew. I'm going to put that out there right now. But I might take my nicks.
I will either. To be honest, we have got special champs' kit coming our way too, Joel, for our little jaunt to the Tour Down Under. The Wheelhouse will be going to the Tour Down Under. There's a lot of very exciting things going on over there, but mostly we had to go because we committed to Jay Vine, Merksy and I, that we'd be standing on the Corkscrew with a banner.
Absolutely. And I think Bree held you to that too as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was it. That was kind of signed, sealed, delivered.
Okay.
So we might get the kids over holidays, bearing in mind we have 4 at home, to design some of these posters.
I like
what
it
do you
a lot.
think?
I like it a lot. If you want to send any suggestions for our J Vine poster,
yes,
feel free to throw it onto our social media and look. No bad ideas. Put it that way. No bad ideas. We'd love to see what you have in your head. That's really exciting. It's coming up in January. It's going to be hot, but it'll be lots of fun.
It will. We're getting ready in Brisbane at the moment for the heat.
Sure are.
Acclimatising.
Let's wrap up the Champions League. I love it because you wrote a line here, and you write great lines. And one lunge and a few millimetres of rubber was the winning difference for Matthew Richardson. Now, read out of context, that could be misinterpreted in a lot of ways.
There's a lot of cycling terminology that could be...
and positions.
Yeah, let me say that.
The indoor world championships spring to mind? Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do remember when I first tried to explain to a non-cyclist, when I said, he sat on him all day and then whacked him at the end. He was really aggressive throughout the day. Yeah. It didn't get the reception I anticipated.
Funny that.
Anyway, Champions League has wrapped up. And Joel, I reckon, best thing since sliced bread, this is like the T20, which is that fantastic cricket format of cycling.
Did you just make it... Sorry, stop the press.
I'm sorry.
Did you just refer to another sport?
But it's summer in Australia.
I love it.
And if you don't like cricket, I can tell you it's a real bummer, Joel.
Where the bloody hell? I love that.
It's our kind of national summer sport.
It very much is,
and
yes.
We're getting very distracted here. The Champions League, it was just the most fantastic spectacle. And it's been a long time coming. So the way it's invite only, so it's not like a World Cup. They take the top 6 from the World Championship in endurance, in sprint, and so they just have the 4 categories. And then they race over a number of rounds. Aussie Matty Richardson,
did well.
We talked about him earlier.
Sure
he
did.
took the crown, the overall crown, beating Harry Lavrason, who is an 11-time world champion, no less.
Fancies himself.
Now,
as
4
on
weeks
pace.
ago, Richo had never beaten him head-to-head.
Yep.
And hello, look at what 4 weeks has done.
Yep.
Very exciting. Very,
it was a
very
big moment,
exciting.
that. Big moment. And revenge, too, for Richo from some earlier squabbles as well with
Indeed.
Laverson. So.
Indeed, yes. And look, Jennifer Valente won the women's endurance, and we have Matilda Gross, who's the world champion in the sprint. She really dominated in the sprint competition, which was fantastic to see. All in all, lights, camera, action. This is the way forward. Entertainment.
It really is, isn't it? So
Yes.
you often call you mentioned T20, but the hit and giggle kind of format. But
You've said that line before. Now I remember.
That's what I've. Yeah, but it's that. What are they talking? They're not just talking about that. They're talking about the pyrotechnics, the lights, the color, the fun, the music, all of that. It's more. It's a lamp to a moth. It drags people in more, and the cycling has been outstanding. We saw Richardson. After some of his events, and there was no question. There's no gimmick. There's no gimmick here because we often talk about the criterion and stuff like that. How it's just taking the piss. This is full on.
It is.
And he's acquitted himself beautifully.
Track cycling can be quite a technical sport, but the wonderful thing about Champions League is that you don't actually have to understand all of the ins and outs. It's still so thrilling to watch, especially with the sprints and the Kierans. And so double thumbs up from me.
Yeah. Where does Richo go from here? Once you knock something like you've got this adversary that you've never been able to beat, you do it. Onward, upward.
I think it'll help him just in the confidence state. Like, it won't change anything he does from a preparation perspective because, he and Coach Lynn Munro have just been head down, bums up, working really hard.
Yep.
And they believe this day was coming. But when it actually arrives, it allows you to just eliminate that self-doubt. Self-doubt is the biggest issue for any of the athletes.
Getting in your own way.
I mean, they're all super talented. It's not like some of them are, dupes out there.
Yeah.
They're all pretty classy riders, but it's the attitude. I like it. I reckon just quietly, Richo might have a few Olympic rings in his future.
Ooh. That's exciting. That's exciting. I love the invite only.
Yes.
Aspect too.
I know
it's
it's something to aspire to.
Yeah, it's elite.
I like
it's properly
that.
elite. Congratulations to Richo and all the Aussies involved and the rest. It's a great event. Let's get on the stationary bike now. I know you enjoy your esports. We've got some Aussie announcements, an Aussie team announcement, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Kate, because I know you're pretty close to this.
We do. I have the privilege of working with this mob for the Esports World Championship. So the Oz Cycling team has been announced this week. On the women's side, Bree Vine is our sort of team leader after her performance last year.
Love that.
Love it.
Yeah, friend of the Wheelhouse.
Friend of the Wheelhouse. Now, she's backed up. She's got a fantastic team with her as well. She's got a couple from last year that are coming back, Katie Banerjee, Justine Barrow, and Vicky Whitelaw, who is arguably the most experienced esports athlete on the planet.
Yeah.
She is phenomenal. We've also got Imogen Outen. She comes from Zwift Academy. And Rose Vassell is a new addition to the team. Now, I'm super excited about Rose because she's come through the NRS. It's been a really kind of understated development she's had. But her numbers and her powers in-game are incredible.
Yep.
And she put in an expression of interest for the team, and I've been seeing her race the virtual NRS all year.
Yep.
I was so excited to see her application. Took a deep dive into her numbers, and I was like, this girl has got some serious talent, and when I spoke to her, I don't even know if she knows how much talent she's got. So really excited about that.
Just untapped.
But that's what esports does. It gives people the opportunity because she's got a full-time job and it's something she does, after hours. On the men's side, we've of course got reigning world champion Jay Vine.
Yeah, just Jay Vine.
Yeah. Vine. But we also had 3 in the top 4 last year, Joel. Bit of a dominant performance.
Yep.
So we've got Ben Hill and Freddie Ovett coming back as well. Sam Hill is back as well. Torben Partridge Madsen.
Love Torben.
Which is fantastic, although I always struggle to say his name right in the heat of the race.
Yep.
It's one of those ones that I just end up calling him Torben. Apologies, Torben.
Let's do a real quick practice now on 3. 1, 2, 3, go.
Torben Partridge Madsen.
Oh, you have
it's
to
a
do
bit
one
hard.
more. 1, 2, 3.
Torben Partridge Madsen.
That was better.
Oh, a bit delayed though.
It's okay.
Well, and then we've got Josh Harris, and
Yep.
I'm super excited about Josh Harris. He's a debut in the Worlds team, but he's a marathon runner, or he was a marathon runner.
Yeah.
And he's turned his eye to Zwift.
Yeah.
Again, the power numbers are phenomenal. pew, that exploding head emoji. I'm really, really looking
Who
forward
are you
to it.
most excited about across men and women? Who's got the most potential to become a Jay Vine, to go on? I know Jay Vine's there, but to go beyond the esports realm.
Yeah, I think Josh Harris is the most exciting esports athlete I've seen make debut.
Yep.
So he's sensational. He's just a top bloke and he's just so talented, and I think he'll go far. But they've changed the format this year, so now it's 3 different races and people get eliminated at each stage of it. And I think definitely a downside though, Joel, is I think I'm going to have to recon the courses. So now I don't just have to recon 1, I have to recon 3.
Yeah, 3 courses. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's not film that.
No, I think we might.
I reckon Merksy will start getting ideas. He'll be rubbing his hands together going like, oh.
I reckon Merksy's already got that in the diary, ready to go.
Yeah, love you, babe, but no.
It's exciting. Now, before we go, it's been a rollicking installment of the Wheelhouse podcast. But you know how big of a fan we are of your mate, Logan Martin, your airport Paul Savant.
Quicker than me through an airport, but maybe...
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. He's a Logan Gold Coast boy, BMX Freestyle World Cup coming home for Logan. This is pretty exciting.
Yes, they've got a World Cup in Australia on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
We've got 13 Aussie men in there, including Logan from Logan.
Yeah.
We've got Brandon Lupos as well, who's one of our Olympic reps.
Yep.
And we've got 3 women competing. And it's a Paris 2024 qualifier. So this is important.
So it's serious business.
It is.
Rim Nakamura will be there as well. He, of course, took out the Abu Dhabi tournament.
Yes.
When was that? That was quite recent, like
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's in the running for the best cycling appropriate name.
I don't know what he looks like. I've never seen a photo of him not upside down.
I know. With the helmet on, right?
Yeah.
But I think Rim, we've got Ryder Hejadal.
Yes.
So another cycling appropriate name. It took you a while to get that.
Did,
you were
sorry.
like, what is
Rim
she
and
talking
Ryder.
about?
Yeah, no, I like it though. You're on fire today. On fire. 13 Aussie men, 3 Aussie women.
Go, you good things.
Future's bright.
Yeah. Are you going to be on the sidelines, Joel?
I'd like to be.
With a poster for Logan?
Yeah, accepting any submissions that you might have for our Logan from Logan poster. And pasta, if you want to send pasta, and you can do that too. It's exciting though. It's good. It's the beautiful state of Queensland is seeing some pretty epic extreme cycling events in the last little while, and will continue to do so. So
it is encouraging the youth of the Gold Coast to flip themselves upside down on tubes of metal welded together.
Never be photographed standing upright. That's the rule of BMX. Yeah, I'd like to see Logan do well at home. Is that there's that pressure of home, but obviously he wasn't at his absolute best in Abu Dhabi, of course. Anyway, just saying, don't want to heap pressure on him. As easy as it is to do like backflips and all that when you're on the BMX. But
just
anyway.
Go, you good thing.
I just think he will. I just think. I'm going to
no
tip
pressure,
him right
but
now.
I think he will.
Yeah, you heard it here. This has been fun. I'd love the bunker now that you know where it is. It's about 39 degrees now. My name's Joel Spreadbury. Kate Bates also present. I keep going to say thank you, but I don't think I need to thank you.
No, I think, well, it's because I told you I have a Christmas present for you.
That's what I want to thank you for.
But I didn't bring it.
You forgot it. That's okay. That's fine.
You can thank me next time.
It's a pleasure doing business with you.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes, indeed.
Yes. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell anyone, because I reckon it's worth checking out. We'll see you next time. The Wheelhouse is produced by River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by Luke Mears and the mysterious Merksy. It's written and hosted by Kate Bates and me, Joel Spreadbury.